Time again for another installment of The Basics, and in regards to the Star Trek CCG, on today's show I want to show you a few small things that most might consider very mundane, but will get you disqualified almost instantly if you're playing in a Star Trek CCG tournament, whether or not it's sanctioned or a card shop or comic store game. Now, a card shop or a comic store game might be more forgiving, but I have seen disqualifications happen with a lot of these small things. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Now, right off the bat, let me just start by saying I am not covering banned cards because I've already done episodes regarding banned cards. This is a lot of small things that might happen at tournaments that you might think are inconsequential, but you will get disqualified. We're going to start with one of the obvious ones. If you have a second deck sitting anywhere near you on the table, and you might think that this isn't a big deal because a lot of players take two decks to a tournament. I've said that myself. But if you have a second deck sitting on the table that's not in a deck box or anywhere near the space line, your opponent will just call a judge and that's it. You're done there. Second one, and this one seems like nitpicking, but it has happened. You have cards in your hand, and say one of your cards, as you're picking up your hand, falls face up on the table or happens to fall down on the floor, and you pick it up and you put it back into your hand. Believe it or not, this is a no-no. If you're playing in a house rule game, it's not a big deal, no one cares, but at any tournament, even if you drop it on the floor and nobody but you can see it, your opponent will raise a stink and ask you to throw it in your discard pile immediately. And that brings me to the discard pile. While you're playing the game, if you're further enough along in the game where you have a bit of a discard pile, do not fidget with it or happen to do this or even try to straighten it or make any attempt to make it look like that you're trying to see what's in your discard pile. That is a violation, and there are a lot of players that are anal about seeing that. Another one is your side deck, and again, this is nitpicking, but there are a lot of opponents that are hawk-eyed, and they will attempt to count how many cards you have in your side deck. And the limit is 13 for a Q's tent. I'm not getting into Battle Bridge because the Q's tent is more of a popular side deck. Make sure before you even get to the table that your side deck has the right amount of cards. People will nitpick you to death, and that's a disqualification. And finally, this one deals with range when you're moving your ships. Even the slightest mistake. So the Enterprise D, I'll give you an example, has a range of 9. So say you're going to move it down the space line and go several locations. So you have range of 3, 4, and 2. That's 9 there. Don't accidentally forget what you're doing and go there, or make sure you've calculated the range and that there's no damage or any kind of cards that would hinder that. Because if you make one little mathematical mistake, your opponent will jump all over you on it. I'm not joking. This does happen. I've had it happen to me. I know these seem like small things that are mainly nitpicking, but even as much as some players try to have fun in the tournaments, there are some that take it way too seriously and look for any kind of edge to get you out of the game so that they can move on to the next round as easy as possible. Personally, I think it's a bit disappointing and sad that some players nitpick to a certain degree, especially if you drop a card or if you've forgotten about a second deck that really has no bearing on the game. And the fact that some people are really going to squint at your side deck. Now, I understand the rules state 13 cards for a side deck, but I think it's going too far that some players spend more time in the game trying to find a way to nitpick and get you out of the game rather than beat you fair and square. Call me old school, but I'm just not one of those people that needs to nitpick. If it's a blatant violation, like a banned card that shouldn't be there, that's one thing, but everyone needs to calm down. Have a great day.